In college wrestling news this week, we're talking about why everybody is afraid of Sebastian Rivera. And if you haven't heard yet, the biggest rematch of the year was supposed to happen this past weekend when Spencer Lee took on Sebastian Rivera. Now, of course, you may know that these two wrestled back at Midlands a few weeks ago, and Sebastian Rivera handed Spencer Lee his first loss of the season. And this was a pretty incredible match, especially considering that these two have a pretty nice match history. So Spencer Lee was supposed to wrestle in the duel Iowa versus Northwestern this past weekend, and didn't happen. Lee forfeited. He actually didn't even weigh in. And according to Coach Brand, this was just a coaching decision. It's what needed to happen at the time. But it's pretty unfortunate that we didn't get this big matchup. And so what happened is Rivera ended up wrestling Perez, who's Iowa's backup, and he continues his winning streak, Sebastian Rivera, as number one at 125 in the country. Now, as you may know, Lee and Sebastian Rivera had this match history. They have 3 matches where they've wrestled before. The first was at Midlands in 2018, or actually I should say the first one was at the dual meet, Northwestern versus Iowa in 2018, when Lee beat Rivera. He beat him 6-2, and then he beat him again at Midlands. And then the big match this past year was whenever Rivera beat Lee in the Midlands Finals, which was a pretty awesome match. So, why is everybody so afraid of Rivera? Well, first of all, I want to say Perez actually gave Rivera a pretty good match until the third period, whenever he gassed out a little bit and Rivera started getting some back points, won the match 11-1. This match really, it didn't have any impact on the duel. Iowa still won handily 31-8, which was, pretty easy for them. But what's interesting is that the last 3 matches that Rivera was supposed to have were all pretty much forfeits from the top guys in the country. So the first match was supposed to be against Connor Brown from Wisconsin, and Rivera actually beat him earlier in the year. He beat him, I think it was a tack actually, 19-4, crushed him at Midlands, and they didn't wrestle in their dual meet against Wisconsin. And then the second match was against Sean Russell. He was supposed to wrestle against Minnesota in that dual meet. Didn't happen. And what's interesting is Russell actually gave Lee a pretty nice match a couple weeks ago. And then, of course, the most recent match it wasn't a forfeit, but it was the backup at Iowa, and that was against Lee. So why is everybody so afraid of Rivera? Let's get some wrestling done. Let's not be so afraid and worried about our rank. What happened to the matches last year when we got to see these awesome number 1 versus number 2, or the first ever number 1 versus number 1 whenever Meredith took on Seth Gross? I want to see these guys going at it. I don't want to see them just so afraid to go out there. And I'm not saying the decision was on Spencer Lee at all. It was probably mostly due to Brands, and that's what he said in his post-match interview. And another thing that was interesting in the post-match interview was with Rivera. He knows that they're afraid of something. He says they're running from something. Now, he was pretty humble in his response, but he knows that they're running, and he's out there to do his business. So what do you guys think about this decision to not wrestle Spencer Lee? Now, these two will meet at the Big Ten Championships in a couple weeks, and who do you think is going to win that match? Let me know in the comments below, and if you're interested in more college wrestling videos like this, make sure you subscribe so you get notified and can keep up with the latest content. Thanks for watching.